Welcome to Restoring the Mind, where we discuss the mind and brain and all its domains. My name is Khalid Mahmood. Today's topic is Our Health Depends on Our Healthy Gut. My guest this week is Dr. Natasha Campbell-McBride, MD. She is the author of several books, including Gut and Psychology Syndrome, Natural Treatment for Autism, Dyspraxia, A.D.D, Dyslexia, A.D.H.D, Depression, Schizophrenia. She's also got another book called Gut and Physiology Syndrome and another book called Vegetarianism Explained. And another book is Put Your Heart in Your Mouth, and the last book is Gaps Stories. Welcome to Restoring the Mind, Dr. Natasha.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you. My first question would be, you said that many of the psychological problems like depression are due to unhealthy gut. Can you please explain the relationship between the gut and psychology? What has gut got to do with our mental state?
Well, majority of people know that we have microbes living inside our digestive system. Well, recent research has discovered that human body is actually an ecosystem. There are far more microbes inside us than human cells. And the microbes are everywhere. There is nothing microbe-free in the human body. You have microbes in your blood, in your abdominal cavity, in your lungs, in your heart, in your brain, everywhere. But the biggest community lives in the digestive system. And that is where the big ministry or the big government or the big sort of headquarters of our microbial community is. What happens in the digestive system then affects the rest of the body immediately through the microbial community, through the nervous system, through all sorts of things. And what happens in depression and other mental illness and in learning disabilities? People have abnormal gut flora. Because with any microbial community, you have to have a balance in order for it to be benign or beneficial to us. There has to be a complete and very, very fine balance between all kinds of microbes in there. Fungi, bacteria, viruses, protozoa, archaea, all kinds of creatures live together in a balanced microbial community. And they all plant each other, harvest each other, eat each other, control each other. They don't allow anyone to get out of control and start causing trouble. Problem is, we human beings are very good at creating imbalances on our planet and inside our bodies too. Every time you take an antibiotic, you kill off a bunch of microbes in your digestive system. These microbes were controlling fungi, viruses, protozoa, all sorts of other creatures. And once they're gone, all those other creatures which are resistant to antibiotics will get out of control. Once the balance is gone, once the harmony is gone, then the microbial community stops being your friend. It becomes your powerful enemy. And the problem is that nowadays people are eating antibiotics for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because everything you buy in the supermarket comes from industrial agriculture, and industrial agriculture uses so many chemicals nowadays, many of which are broad-spectrum antibiotics in their nature. So everything you buy in the supermarket is full of antibiotic-like chemicals, and they damage the balance in the gut flora. And once that balance is gone, the pathogenic microbes overgrow in the digestive tract, and they start converting food that you eat into millions of poisonous chemicals. At the same time, they damage the integrity of your gut wall, making it porous and leaky. Your gut wall becomes like a sieve. Holes develop in the gut wall. So these poisonous chemicals absorb into your blood, into your lymph, and get distributed around the body. And wherever they get you, this toxic river coming from your gut, wherever it gets you in the body, it causes disease. When they get into the brain, they can cause all kinds of dysfunctions in the brain. And diagnostic labels such as depression or OCD or anorexia or schizophrenia or let's say A.D.H.D or dyslexia or something else, they're purely descriptive. They're just a bunch of symptoms that were put together in a box. That box was named depression. The real cause is not in that box. and what can we do to get rid of the problem is not in that box either. The real cause is gut flora. I have no doubt about it. It is all gaps, gut and psychology syndrome and gut and physiology syndrome. It's that river of toxicity flowing from your gut, getting into your brain, and depending on what kind of mixture of toxins comes into the brain, depending how your individual brain responds to that mixture of toxicity, and depending on how your immune system then deals with the whole situation. Because the immune system will not stand by and do nothing about the situation. It will look at what's going on in the brain and see that the brain is being poisoned. It will start launching inflammation. It will start using autoimmunity, all sorts of different tools that the immune system has, adding more symptoms. So every human being is unique. The mixture of toxins coming from your gut to your brain is unique too. And that can manifest in a unique mixture of symptoms. And sometimes this mixture of symptoms will fit into a diagnostic label, such as depression. Sometimes it will not. So you may receive several diagnostic labels, or doctors may take a long time to give you a label, or they might be just confused with what's going on. The reality is, in every mental illness, in every learning disability, in every psychological problem, there is gaps. I have no doubt about it. None whatsoever. And recently, our science started confirming what we've been saying for decades. Study after study is coming out, linking the activity of the gut flora with autism, with schizophrenia, with depression, with various other mental illnesses. So that's what happens. So in order to help any person with any mental illness, any mental issue, the first and foremost place that has to be healed is the digestive system. So the first thing that has to change is food. Because if you speak to any microbiologist, they will tell you that the first thing in our environment, on our planet, that any microbe is going to respond to is the change in food. You give them different food, and immediately the microbial community will change, literally within minutes, within hours. Certain species of microbes will reduce their numbers and disappear because this food wasn't suitable for them. Other species will proliferate and grow, and they produce babies, trillions of babies within hours, literally very, very fast they reproduce. So you can change any microbial community in your body very fast, very rapidly, by changing what you eat, by changing the food supply that you give them. And that is what the GAPS diet has been designed for. GAPS nutritional protocol, the biggest part of it is the diet, the GAPS diet. It is designed to normalize and rebalance your gut flora, and through the gut flora to rebalance and normalize the rest of your microbial community in your body. The microbial community that lives in your lungs, lives in your heart, in your blood, in your joints, in your abdominal cavity, everywhere there are microbes. And once you rebalance that microbial community, bring the harmony back, your body will become harmonious, and all sorts of symptoms and diseases disappear. Not only depression, not only mental illness, but all autoimmune illnesses, hormonal illnesses, neurological, allergies, chronic cystitis, asthma, hay fever, rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis. The list is endless. Human body heals itself. It's a magnificent microbial community. It's a magnificent creation which heals itself all the time. And everything in nature thrives on balance, on harmony. Bring back the harmony and everything will sing in your body. So that's how depression is caused.
Okay, thank you very much. That was a good in-depth analysis. My second question would be that you already talked about it without using the term, but can you just maybe repeat it and explain again? And you mentioned the word leaky gut in the book. Can you please explain again the leaky gut is?
The gut lining is lined by very specialized cells which are stuck to each other on the sides, like with a Velcro, like with a glue. Pathogenic microbes, when your gut flora, when that microbial community inside your digestive system becomes unbalanced, Pathogens which overgrow in there produce certain chemicals which dissolve that glue or break that Velcro. So these cells that line your gut come apart. Food normally is not supposed to absorb between these cells. Normally, when the food is digested properly, the cells swallow it up, absorb it inside themselves. Then they analyze it, see if it is safe for you, if it's properly digested, maybe add something or take something away, and then they release it into your blood. So that way the food is supposed to be absorbed. But when that glue between these cells is dissolved and the cells come apart, there is a hole in your gut wall, millions of holes. So food doesn't get the chance to be digested properly before it absorbs. It absorbs undigested. Then your immune system immediately spots these undigested food particles in your blood, in your lymph, and attacks them because they're not supposed to be there. And this attack can manifest itself as food allergy and intolerance. And any symptom under the sun can be a food allergy or intolerance. It can be an asthma attack, it can be a panic attack, it can be a skin rash, can be a migraine headache, can be a psychotic attack, it can be arthritis, it can be cystitis, it can be anything. And the reaction can be immediate or delayed. So on any given day, you have no idea what you're reacting to. You can be reacting to something you just had for lunch, plus something you had yesterday, plus something you had 2 days ago, plus something you had 2 weeks ago. All of these reactions overlap on top of each other, and on any given day, a person has no idea what they're reacting to. What we do in the GAPS nutritional protocol, we don't focus on foods, we focus on the gut lining. We heal and seal it. Human body has a wonderful way of healing itself all the time. As long as we give the body the right tools to heal itself, we rebuild the gut lining for the person. So we heal and seal the gut lining, we close all those holes with the diet, with the GAPS diet. And once those holes closed up, food starts digesting properly, absorbing properly, and food allergies and intolerances disappear naturally. You just rebuild your gut lining and then you get rid of all these reactions. And these reactions alone can cause any kind of disease in the world. And majority of people in the Western world have some kind of food allergy or intolerance due to that kind of leaky gut. Okay.
Okay. How long does it take to heal a leaky gut?
It depends to what kind of gut flora the person has, how long they've been ill. It can take from a few months to a few years in different people. But the improvements start happening fairly quickly. Literally within a week or two, people start feeling changes. They start improving. Even people who didn't have digestive symptoms before. I had many patients who said to me that, I have no pain, no gas, no bloating, no diarrhea, no constipation. I seem to be all right in that department. But then when we start changing the diet in the person, their migraines disappear, rheumatoid arthritis heals, psoriasis disappears, eczema disappears. All sorts of illnesses which are far removed from the digestive system and people normally wouldn't connect them with the state of their digestive system start disappearing. So don't be deceived by the fact that you may not have severe digestive symptoms. The disorder is likely to be in the digestive tract. The reason for that is because human body is a microbial community. 90% probably, what the scientists told us, that 90% of all cells in the human body are microbes. We don't know whether they're right or not. They may correct themselves because science moves on all the time, new things are discovered, but that's the number they gave us. So there are more microbes, 10 times more microbes in your body than your human cells. And if we look at the evolutionary biology, these biologists will tell us that actually human cells evolved from microbes billions of years ago, eons ago. And many of them have never forgotten who they are. They still remember that they were microbes and they can even revert back to their microbial origin. These experiments have already been done. And remember that microbes, the most effective way of dealing with any microbial community is food. Food, food, food. Nothing else will touch them. Food. That's what will change them. And the only way to coexist with microbes is to have balance, to have harmony, to make sure that in that microbial community, every little creature is there. We haven't killed anything. We haven't removed anything. They all should be present in there. The more the merrier. But what has to happen is the balance between all of these microbes. And the only way to achieve that balance is with the methods that Mother Nature gave us. Not drugs, not pharmaceuticals. Food, sunshine, clean water, clean air, dealing with stress, and a good lifestyle.
Okay, that takes us to the next question, which is on foods. In this 21st century, I would assume most people have a long list of nutritional deficiencies due to modern lifestyles. Which foods commonly eaten are contributing to this? For example, you mentioned the processed foods and cereals in the book. What others would you name the foods?
All industrial foods are deficient and cause nutritional deficiencies. Industrially produced foods. And that is industrial agriculture. It is the kind of agriculture it's an abomination that is destroying our planet and destroying our health. And most of their produce is sold in supermarkets. So in order for any person who is seeking to heal themselves from an illness, to improve their health, the first thing that has to be done, we have to stop buying our food in supermarkets. We have to abandon these comfortable places with those trolleys called supermarkets. There are hundreds and hundreds of real farms in every country, including this country, including the UK. And these farmers, it's very difficult for them to survive without a strong customer base. They have to sell directly to the customer. Only then the farmer can survive. Because the whole environment, the whole global market and so on, makes it extremely difficult for farmers to survive. The government is subsidizing industrial agriculture. That is why those big farmers make any kind of profit at all. If the government didn't subsidize them, then they wouldn't survive either. But the small farmers, the farmers who love their land and love their animals and love their plants, and they've got nothing to hide, these farmers will be perfectly happy for you to come and visit their farm. So it's a beautiful thing to do on a weekend. Just put your family in a car, put your dog in the car and drive to your farm and visit the farm. See the animals, see how they kept, look that farmer in the eye and see whether this is a person you can trust, whether this is a good, loving, kind person who will not hurt his animals and will not hurt his land, and buy from that farmer. And it doesn't take a lot of investigation and a lot of effort to find these good farmers. They usually sell at farmers markets, so that's a good place to start. Go to a farmers market, talk to farmers, take their contact details and ask them, can I visit your farm? And spend a few weekends driving around. And then start buying from these farmers exclusively, directly, and buying in bulk. For example, a second-hand freezer is about 50 pounds, and a chest freezer, you can put that in your garage. And once a farmer can supply you, let's say, with half a pig, and you know that this is a good pig. This pig has been loved and it lived in nature, on grass, it's been moved, or it's been in a forest, because that's a natural environment for pigs, where they're supposed to live. And that pork will be very, very different from what you will ever find in the supermarket. So when a farmer slaughters a pig like that, then you buy a whole pig, or you buy half a pig. And for a family of 4, that will be enough for the rest of the year. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to start thinking, oh gosh, what am I cooking for dinner? Where am I going to find something? You go to your freezer and do the same with the chicken, and do the same with the ducks, and the same with beef and with lamb and whatever other meats you want. If you buy in bulk, it is cheaper to buy, definitely less expensive, and you supply your family with a good meat that you vetted and you know what kind of animal this was and where it was kept and what food it was eating. This animal, it's a good quality food and it's convenient. It's far more convenient for you. And on top of that, you are supporting a good farmer, a good person who without customers like you would struggle. And what many of my patients and clients do who live in cities, and they form groups like a little cooperative. I put them in touch with each other and they form a group. And once they found a few farms like that, so somebody from a group drives out and gets eggs for a whole week or milk for a whole week and butter and cream or meat for a whole week or vegetables for a whole week for the whole group, brings it to their apartment and their house in the city, and everybody comes and picks up their bits and pieces. And next week, somebody else from the group can do that, the whole group. Next week, somebody else. And when the group gets a bit bigger, a farmer is very happy to deliver for the whole group to one house or one apartment. And that way you don't have to drive every week to get your supplies for your family.
Yes, I've actually heard of the term food deserts and today's cities. I mean, I live near Manchester, and I can vouch that Manchester is a food desert area, and a food desert is where you kind of know a healthy food is very, very far away, and all the junk food are at every corner of the street, and that is a food desert area. And
Yeah.
Manchester has, certainly become a food desert.
I'm sure there are good farms around Manchester with decent, honest, good farmers.
True.
And a good farm will have everything. It will have animals, it will have birds, it will have gardens, it will have arable things, it will have everything in rotation. Because once we've taken a crop from a land, once we've grown a crop on the field, that crop has taken a lot of nutrition out of the soil. You have to put animals and birds on that field to restore the quality of the soil. That's why all traditional proper farms have everything in rotation. They have animals and they have birds and they have plants, everything. Where industrial farmers, they have, acres and acres and acres of just arable with big machines. And because it's chemicals, the soils on those fields are dead. It's a desert. It's a desert. And all nutrition, so-called nutrition for the plants, comes from chemicals that are sprayed onto that desert. So these kind of plants grown on these fields will not provide you with good nutrition. And of course, you will have nutritional deficiencies if you're eating that kind of food.
Yes. Okay. Next, I'm going to ask two questions in one. What's the latest research? What are the causes for autism? And the second question is autism reversible? Is there any evidence to suggest that autistic patients have made full recovery by using GAPS plan?
Absolutely. Thousands of children all over the world have recovered from autism fully. But all those children were small. Because what we have to understand that almost 100% of modern autistic children were born with a perfectly normal brain. These were perfectly normal babies. But they acquired abnormal gut flora from their parents because the mother and the father passed their gut flora to the child at the moment of birth. And we have generations of people now in whom the gut flora is damaged by all the antibiotics, all the agricultural chemicals and other things that people take. And they pass that damaged abnormal gut flora to the child. And with every generation, this situation is getting worse and worse, deeper and deeper. That is why we have an epidemic of autism. Autistic children acquire abnormal gut flora from their parents. They are born already with abnormal gut flora. And as a result, this child's digestive system, instead of feeding this baby,
how are they born with that damaged? Oh, yes, abnormal.
Well, the baby starts acquiring gut flora during 9 months of development inside the uterus of the mother. Because the mother has a flora in her uterus. She's got placental flora, microbial flora, and that flora populates the body of the baby. Then, at the moment of birth, the baby goes through the birth canal and swallows lots and lots of microbes. And these microbes come from the bowel of the woman. So if she has abnormal gut flora herself, she will have abnormal flora in her birth canal. And that's what her baby will get. The father, if he has abnormal gut flora, that abnormal flora will populate his groin and all the organs in that area, and he shares that flora with the mother on a regular basis. So that's how both the mother and the father pass their gut flora to the child. So children, that's where children get their gut flora from. And we have an increasing number of babies nowadays who are born, acquire abnormal, very unbalanced gut flora from their parents from day one. As a result, they are GAPS children, gut and psychology, gut and physiology syndrome children. Their gut gets damaged. Their digestive system, instead of feeding them, starts poisoning them. A river of toxicity in an autistic child flows from the gut to the brain, clogs the brain with toxicity, so the brain cannot develop properly. The child develops, depending on the mixture of toxins, depending on other factors, the child may develop autism or may become hyperactive, or may develop attention deficit disorder, dyslexia, oppositional defiant disorder, dyspraxia. You know, the list is very long. All sorts of new diagnostic labels have been created for our children nowadays. And the proportions of these children with learning disabilities are growing at a terrible, terrible pace. It's an absolute avalanche, absolute epidemic. Because we have an epidemic of GAPS. These are GAPS children. Remember, the baby was born with a normal brain. It's just a brain that's being bombarded by toxicity coming from the gut. The longer this normal brain is stuck in that toxic state, the more physical damage is inflicted on that brain and the more irreversible that damage becomes. So the younger the child is, when we start the GAPS diet with the child, the quicker the child recovers and the more fully the child recovers. So babies who were 2, 3, toddlers and small children, when we put them on the GAPS diet, they recover quite quickly and they recover fully. Autism, just they shake it off very quickly. And the same with hyperactivity, the same with attention deficit, the same with all of these other disabilities. But obviously, if a child has been in that situation already for 8 years or 15 years or whatever, there will be improvements. You can still improve the situation to a degree that is unpredictable. It's difficult to predict to what degree the child will recover. But a 15-year-old or a 10-year-old autistic child will not fully recover from autism because their brain has been bombarded by toxicity for 10 years. Physical damage has been inflicted on that brain already in those years by all those poisons coming from the digestive system of the child. But a little one, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, maximum up to the age of 4 and a half maybe, their brain hasn't been trapped in that toxicity that long. You can still reverse the damage. You can still heal that child.
Okay. Next question. What about asthma and eczema? Have any patients made full recovery by using GAPS plan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't know how many, but certainly in tens of thousands, maybe more, all over the world. Because GAPS nutritional protocol has been around for 20 years. It's a global phenomenon. My first GAPS book has been translated into 25 languages. We've got more translations coming in. So it is a global phenomenon, and people are using this protocol for treating all sorts of illnesses all over the world. Eczema and asthma are atopic conditions. The immune system is out of balance in a person. That's why they've got these conditions. And the balancing element in the immune system is the gut flora. The immune system is out of balance because the gut flora is abnormal. Once you normalize the gut flora and heal the digestive system with the GAPS diet, GAPS nutritional protocol, the immune system rebalances itself. Eczema clears, asthma clears, hay fever clears, hives, and any other atopic condition clears. Okay.
I think the last question we've already answered about the foods and the pesticides and etc. So is there anything else that you would like to add as your final thoughts?
Well, the final thought I would like to add is that we have global corporations which rule the world and dictate to our governments the agricultural policies and health policies. And they have invested hundreds of billions into synthetic meat, synthetic milk, and synthetic eggs. So their competition now is real meat, real milk, and real eggs. They are poised to destroy animal husbandry. That is why they have launched pro-vegetarian propaganda. And many people, unfortunately, are succumbing to this propaganda because these corporations want the whole planet to be vegan, because that is profitable for them. It is unprofitable for them, for people to eat any animal products. They want everybody to be vegetarian or vegan, because that is the most profitable scenario for them. So they have launched pro-vegetarian propaganda, and also they have been maligning meat for decades, blaming meat for every disease in the world, and blaming butter and eggs and milk and, you know, all the animal foods. All of that propaganda is to serve their commercial interests. It has nothing to do with the truth. I have a whole list of books that I've written to explain all of this, to explain that heart disease is not caused by fat and cholesterol, to explain the vegetarianism. Please read these books to understand these issues deeply, in order not to fall for their propaganda.
Thank you very much. I will put the link to all the books to Amazon with the video.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very, very much, Natasha.
That's a
Thank
pleasure.
you for your.
That's a pleasure.
Thank you.